What if the ultimate salvation for the Marvel Cinematic Universe is also its most terrifying damnation? Seriously, think about it. We're on the edge of a brand new saga, one that promises to make everything we've seen so far look like child's play. Forget Thanos. Forget the snap. The whispers are getting louder, the fan theories are actually starting to line up, and all signs point to one massive, scary truth. The future of the MCU hangs on a single, unbending will. The future hinges on Doctor Doom, and the blueprint for his rise to power, his path to becoming a literal god. It's not just some wild comic book fantasy, it's a shockingly precise roadmap for what Marvel Studios could be cooking up for Avengers Doomsday and Avengers Secret Wars. Imagine power so absolute, it lets one man tear apart the entire multiverse and then rebuild it, all in his own image. Imagine a villain whose sheer smarts and ambition make even gods nervous. I'm not exaggerating here. This is straight from the comic book reign of God Emperor Doom, a dude who held all of existence in his metal-gloved hand. And the truly terrifying part? The MCU has been quietly, almost sneakily, laying the groundwork for his arrival. To really get how huge this could be, we need to go back to the source material, to one of Marvel Comics' boldest and most universe-shattering events, Jonathan Hickman's 2015 Secret Wars. This wasn't just another big crossover. It was basically a funeral for the old Marvel multiverse and the violent, messy birth of a new one. And right in the middle of it all, pulling the strings, literally rewriting reality, that was Victor Von Doom. The whole setup for Secret Wars 2015 is pure apocalypse. The multiverse is dying. Universes are crashing into each other in these things called incursions, and each crash wipes out one or both realities. The Marvel heroes, with all their power and smarts, are mostly failing to stop this unstoppable cosmic train wreck. It turns out, these super powerful beings from outside the multiverse, the Beyonders, are the ones causing all this destruction as part of some giant experiment. And then there's Doctor Doom. While heroes like Reed Richards and Doctor Strange are desperately trying to save everything, Doom, with his usual mix of arrogance, genius, and pure willpower, goes down a different road. He gets the Beyonders' power, and instead of just trying to block it, he decides he's going to take it. With the help of the reality-bending Molecule Man, Owen Reese, and with Doctor Strange as a horrified, reluctant witness, and later an unwilling sidekick, Doom faces the Beyonders. And in a move that just redefines villainy, he actually wins. He doesn't just beat them, he pretty much becomes them. Doom grabs their near-omnipotent power, and as the last bits of the multiverse crumble, he pulls off this twisted act of salvation. He scoops up the broken pieces of dead realities and stitches them together into one chaotic but somehow working planet, Battleworld. This is no paradise. It's a world forged by Doom's will, ruled by his iron fist. On Battleworld, Victor Von Doom isn't just Doctor Doom anymore. He is God Emperor Doom, Rabu Malo, the beginning and the end. Picture this. Battleworld is this crazy quilt of a planet, each territory a salvaged chunk from a different dead universe. Asgardia is neighbors with a Manhattan, policed by an army of Thors who act as Doom's personal cops. There's a kingdom of Hulks, a zone full of Marvel zombies, pieces of the Ultimate Universe, and tons of other bizarre and dangerous places, all kept in a shaky, forced peace by their absolute ruler. And God Emperor Doom? He's an all-seeing, all-powerful God. His word is law. His power bends reality whenever he feels like it. He has his own son, Johnny Storm, the Human Torch, kept in constant agony. His own enforcers, the Thor Corps, and his own messed-up family, with Sue Storm as his queen and Valeria and Franklin Richards as his kids, though none of them remember their past lives correctly. That's the kind of power we're talking about. God Emperor Doom isn't just some king or conqueror. He is, for all practical purposes, the god of this new, single existence. He saved what little was left of reality, but he did it by making himself its absolute master. His powers are insane. Reality warping on a cosmic scale, control over life and death. He pretty much knows everything within his domain, and he can rewrite memories and histories. He alone holds back the nothingness, stopping the total annihilation that would happen if Battleworld blinked out of existence. Key moments from the comics that really drive home his terrifying reign: things like him effortlessly taking out a Phoenix-powered Cyclops, or his chilling control over the Thor Corps, who serve him without question as judge, jury, and executioner across Battleworld's varied lands. He even has Doctor Strange as his sheriff, a man who knows the truth about how Doom got his power, but is stuck by a tangled mess of necessity and fear. The sheer psychological pressure of his rule is immense. He's wiped the memories of most survivors, giving them new ones that paint him as the kind, all-powerful savior who's always been there. It's a terrifyingly effective way to control people. A universe built on a lie, held up by one man's unbreakable, terrifying will. This isn't just a supervillain winning. It's a supervillain rewriting the very idea of existence to fit his own ego. And this blueprint of ultimate power and control is what the MCU could be aiming to adapt. So why Doctor Doom? After Thanos, who wiped out half of all life with a snap, and with Kang the Conqueror initially teasing all that multiversal chaos, why does Victor Von Doom look like he's about to become the MCU's next top bad guy? The answer is in his unique mix of skills, his deep comic history, and the specific kind of threat he is. A threat that's way more than just physical power. First off, there's his unmatched intellect. Doom is always shown as one of the smartest people in the Marvel Universe, right up there with Reed Richards, Tony Stark, and Bruce Banner. But unlike many of Marvel's heroes, Doom's genius isn't just about scientific discovery, it's fueled by a never-ending ambition and a ruthless, practical mind. He doesn't just want to understand the universe, he wants to master it. This brainpower lets him cook up schemes so complex, so far-reaching, they can unravel realities. He's not just reacting to threats, he's thinking ahead, often pulling strings from the shadows long before he shows his face. Secondly, Doom is a master of both science and sorcery. This double threat is key. While many MCU villains have been great in one area or the other, Ultron with tech, Caecilius, or Wanda with magic, Doom commands both with terrifying skill. He can build impenetrable, high-tech armor 1 minute and then summon demons or weave complicated spells the next. This makes him incredibly versatile and unpredictable as an enemy. He can counter almost any hero, no matter their powers. Imagine the Avengers trying to make a plan against someone who can outthink their scientists and overpower their mystics. Then there's his unbreakable will. This is maybe Doom's most defining trait. Victor Von Doom does not break. He doesn't give in. He's faced cosmic beings, gods, and whole superhero teams and has often come out, if not winning, then at least undefeated and more determined. This iron will is what let him stand up to the Beyonders, steal their power, and hold Battleworld together by sheer force of personality. It's a level of resolve that few characters in Marvel have. It's a will that can, quite literally, reshape reality if it gets the chance. Plus, Doom brings a different kind of villainy than Thanos. Thanos, for all his cosmic power, was ultimately an ideologue, a mad titan with a twisted idea about population control. His goal, though horrific, was, in his mind, a necessary fix. Doom's reasons are much more personal, coming from a massive ego and a deep belief in his own superiority. He genuinely thinks that only he is fit to rule, that only he can bring order to a chaotic universe, that only he can save humanity from itself or from bigger cosmic threats. This isn't just about power for power's sake, it's about proving he deserves that power. It's a philosophical challenge as much as a physical one. He sees himself as the savior, the only one who can make the tough calls, even if it means becoming a tyrant. His comic book legacy is huge. Dr. Doom is consistently ranked as one of the greatest, if not the greatest, comic book villains ever. He's the Fantastic Four's main bad guy, but his impact is felt across the entire Marvel universe. He's a character with decades of complex history, subtle motivations, and epic stories. Bringing him to the front of the MCU isn't just about finding a new big bad, it's about tapping into one of Marvel's richest sources of stories. And crucially, when we're talking about Avengers Doomsday and Avengers Secret Wars, Doom's established role in the comic version of Secret Wars makes him the most logical and satisfying choice to lead such a universe-ending event. He's not just a villain who could be dropped into the story. He is the story in many ways. His journey to becoming God Emperor Doom is the dark heart of that epic. Trying to adapt Secret Wars without Doom at its center would be like trying to do Infinity Gauntlet without Thanos. A massive mistake. Marvel Studios shifting away from Kang as the main antagonist for whatever reasons has created a power vacuum. Dr. Doom doesn't just fill this vacuum, he explodes into it, offering a villain whose ambitions are even bigger, whose methods are more terrifying, and whose potential impact on the MCU is arguably even more profound. He's not just a conqueror, he's a potential recreator of all existence. That's a threat level the Avengers have never truly faced. If Avengers Secret Wars is the final stop, the terrifying reality of God Emperor Doom and Battleworld, then Avengers Doomsday has to be the dangerous road that gets us there. This film, just by its name, makes you think of a coming disaster, a warm-up for the ultimate multiversal showdown. And it's here that the MCU will likely lay the vital groundwork for Dr. Doom's rise, transforming him from a tough Earth-based threat, or maybe a shadowy multiversal player, into the cosmic force who can rewrite reality. One of the core things from the comics that seems almost guaranteed to play a big part is the idea of incursions. We've already seen hints and mentions of incursions in Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness. These collisions between universes, threatening to destroy one or both, are the very engine of the 2015 Secret Wars storyline. Avengers Doomsday could ramp up these incursions to a level we've never seen, making them a clear and present danger to the entire MCU multiverse. Imagine worlds dying, realities falling apart, and the Avengers desperately trying to stop the inevitable. This widespread chaos creates the perfect playground for someone like Doom. While heroes scramble to save individual universes or find a way to stop the incursions completely, Doom could be playing a more calculated, long-term game. The comic storyline had Doom using the power of the Beyonders, with Molecule Man as a sort of battery to become a god. How the MCU adapts this is a big question. The Beyonders are kind of abstract, super powerful beings. Will Marvel introduce them directly? Or will they find an MCU-specific stand-in? Some theories point to anchor beings, key people whose death or manipulation could mess up universes or give access to immense power. Maybe Doom's plan in Doomsday involves finding and targeting these anchor beings across different realities, or manipulating events to cause their deaths, thereby collecting or channeling the energies released. This could be a more grounded, or at least more character-focused way to get a similar result to the Beyonder power grab. Alternatively, the MCU might reuse existing cosmic ideas or artifacts. Could the energy from the big bangs of multiple universes, or a convergence of infinity stones from different realities, or even the powers of a captured cosmic being like Eternity or the Living Tribunal, if he can be brought down, be the source Doom is after? Avengers. Doomsday could be a frantic chase, with the Avengers trying to protect these power sources, while Doom, always a few steps ahead, masterfully gathers what he needs. His shadowy influence is another thing the MCU is likely to focus on. Doom isn't usually a villain who shouts his big plan from the rooftops. He's a master manipulator, a puppet master pulling strings from behind the curtain. We might see the effects of his scheming throughout Doomsday without fully getting his endgame until a key moment. Maybe he's subtly making the incursion crisis worse, guiding events to get rid of rivals or get his hands on necessary resources. He could be appearing in different disguises, manipulating different groups, all while building his power base. The Doomsday of the title might not just refer to the incursions themselves, but to the day Doom's careful, horrifying plan finally pays off, setting him up for godhood. Think about the state of the MCU heroes. They're scattered, dealing with their own problems and threats. The Avengers as a tight-knit unit aren't what they used to be. This broken landscape is perfect for a mind like Doom's to exploit. He could turn heroes against each other, use their weaknesses, and use their desperation to his advantage. The film could see various heroes or teams looking into different parts of the growing crisis, only to realize too late that they are all just pieces in Doom's grand, terrifying game. The role of Latveria, Doom's home country, could also be important. In the comics, Latveria is a technologically advanced, isolated nation fiercely loyal to its ruler. The MCU could set up Latveria as a hidden power, seemingly neutral or unimportant on the world stage, but secretly a hub for Doom's advanced scientific and magical research. Avengers Doomsday might feature a desperate battle or infiltration of Latveria as the heroes start to uncover the true extent of Doom's ambitions and the resources he has. And what about Doom himself? His first appearances might be very deliberate. He might present himself not as a conqueror, but as someone who understands the multiversal crisis better than anyone, maybe even offering a flawed or dangerous solution that appeals to some. This intellectual and moral challenge is key to Doom's character. He doesn't just want to win, he wants to prove he's right. Avengers Doomsday could be the film where the heroes and the audience slowly realize the terrifying scale of Doom's intellect and the horrifying nature of his salvation. The film might end not with a clear win for the heroes, but with Doom hitting a critical phase of his plan, maybe getting whatever power source he needs, leaving the multiverse on the absolute edge, with Doom ready to reshape it all. This sets a truly grim stage for Secret Wars, where the Doomsday prophecy is fulfilled in the form of God Emperor Doom. If Avengers Doomsday maps out the road to disaster, then Avengers Secret Wars is when we arrive at that horrifying destination. This is where the comic book blueprint of God Emperor Doom and Battleworld is unleashed on the MCU in its full, terrifying glory. This film has the potential to be the most ambitious, visually stunning, and emotionally gut-wrenching entry in the entire Marvel saga, and at its heart will be the absolute, unshakable rule of Victor Von Doom. The main idea the MCU has to adapt is Battleworld itself. Just imagine it. A patchwork planet pieced together from the dying scraps of countless realities. One minute you're in a New York you recognize. The next, you're in a realm ruled by savage hulks, or a super advanced society from a universe we've never seen, or even a place haunted by Marvel zombies. Each territory or domain would be a fragment of a lost world, ruled by a baron chosen by Doom, or maybe directly by a loyal version of a known character. The sheer confusion and danger for any surviving heroes would be immense. They wouldn't just be fighting a villain, they'd be trying to survive in a new, hostile reality literally built by his will. God Emperor Doom would rule over this chaotic mess as its all-powerful, all-knowing God King. His power would be absolute. He could change landscapes, bring back the dead, in forms loyal to him, of course, silence anyone who disagrees with a thought, and rewrite the memories of everyone on Battleworld. You can't overstate the psychological horror of this. Heroes might find themselves on a world where their loved ones don't remember them, or worse, serve doom willingly, their past lives and loyalties completely erased. This opens the door for deeply personal fights and forces heroes to question the very nature of their reality. The Thor Corps from the comics would be an amazing element to bring in. A legion of Thors, pulled from various realities where they were worthy, now serving as Doom's unquestioning, hammer-swinging police force, keeping order across Battleworld. Imagine the shock of seeing multiple Thors, maybe even some familiar faces in different forms, acting as enforcers for the ultimate tyrant. This not only gives them strong physical opponents, but is also a deeply symbolic twisting of heroism. The story of Avengers Secret Wars would likely focus on the few surviving heroes who somehow remember the world before, maybe protected by a last-ditch effort from a powerful magic user like Doctor Strange, who in the comics became Doom's sheriff, a really complex and tragic role, or by sheer luck or some scientific fluke. These survivors, probably a mixed bag of Avengers, X-Men, Fantastic Four members, if they're around by then, and other multiversal stragglers, would find themselves in a desperate fight for survival. Their first goal wouldn't even be to beat Doom. That would seem impossible. But just to understand this new reality, find other survivors, and maybe, just maybe, start a rebellion. Character arcs would be the emotional heart of the story. Reed Richards, if he's set up as Doom's intellectual and moral rival, would undoubtedly play a huge part, just like in the comics, leading the charge against his enemy. His journey from scientist to leader of a multiversal rebellion would be key. Other characters would face their own unique challenges. Spider-Man, maybe, trying to hold on to his hope and responsibility in a world where everything he knew is gone. Doctor Strange, struggling with his possible involvement or a forced loyalty to Doom. Characters like Captain America, embodying the spirit of fighting against tyranny. The terrifying roadmap part comes from how Doom stays in control. It's not just through raw power, but through psychological manipulation. He might offer certain domains a fake peace or prosperity, as long as they worship him and follow his laws. He could turn different groups of heroes or survivors against each other. The moral compromises characters might have to make just to survive would be huge. Do you fight a losing battle and risk total destruction? Or do you bend the knee to God Emperor Doom and live in his twisted paradise? The mission to beat Doom would be a massive undertaking. In the comics, it ultimately came down to a showdown between Doom, Reed Richards, and the Molecule Man, whose power Doom had been using. The MCU might go a similar route, with the heroes needing to find the source of Doom's godlike powers and somehow cut him off from it or turn it against him. This could mean dangerous journeys across Battleworld, facing off against Doom's barons, his Thor Corps, and maybe even corrupted versions of their old allies. The scale of the fights would be unlike anything we've seen before. Not just city-destroying battles, but reality-altering clashes. Imagine heroes trying to fight a god who can unmake them with a wave of his hand. Strategy, sacrifice, and maybe even teaming up with other powerful, though dangerous, beings trapped on Battleworld might be necessary. The film would need to explore the sheer despair of living under such an oppressive rule, but also the unstoppable spirit of heroism that refuses to die. Ultimately, Avengers Secret Wars with God Emperor Doom is about exploring the nature of power, reality, and sacrifice. What does it mean to save reality if it costs its soul? Can a benevolent dictatorship ever be okay? And what lines will heroes cross when faced with an enemy who has literally become God? The comic blueprint offers a terrifyingly compelling vision, and if the MCU goes for it, Secret Wars could be a movie event that redefines the superhero genre. While the comic blueprint for God Emperor Doom in Battleworld gives us a fantastic starting point, the MCU is known for its clever adaptations and surprising twists. Marvel Studios doesn't just copy-paste comic storylines, they remix them, adding bits that connect specifically with their movie universe and its history. When it comes to Doctor Doom and Secret Wars, there are several juicy possibilities, and none is more intriguing than the persistent rumors about Robert Downey Jr. The idea of Robert Downey Jr. returning to the MCU, not as Tony Stark, but as a variant of Doctor Doom. That's a meta-narrative bomb waiting to go off. Imagine the impact on both the characters in the MCU and us in the audience. Tony Stark was the foundation of the MCU for over a decade. His sacrifice in Avengers Endgame was the emotional peak of the Infinity Saga. To see that familiar face, hear that familiar voice, now twisted into the body of the ultimate villain, would be deeply disturbing and incredibly gripping. How could this even work? Well, the multiverse means endless possibilities. This Doctor Doom could be a Victor Von Doom from another reality, who, through his own science or magic, somehow merged with or took on the likeness of his universe's Tony Stark. Maybe he believes Stark's image and legacy could be a tool for control or a symbol of ultimate smarts and authority. Or, even more chillingly, what if this Doom, in his multiversal conquests or studies, specifically chose to adopt Stark's appearance as a psychological weapon against our heroes? Knowing how much they revered Tony, seeing him as the face of their oppressor would be a devastating blow. This casting could lead to specific storylines where Doom doesn't just conquer, he corrupts Stark's legacy. He might use Stark Industries tech, twisted for his own horrible ends. He could frame his tyranny as the logical next step of Stark's desire for a suit of armor around the world, but on a multiversal, dictatorial scale. The emotional damage for characters like Pepper Potts, an older Morgan Stark, Rhodey, and Peter Parker would be immense. How do you fight an enemy who wears the face of your mentor, your friend, your father figure? It raises the stakes from a purely physical fight to a deeply personal and psychological one. Beyond the RDJ factor, the MCU has other unique bits it can weave into the Secret Wars story. The idea of anchor beings as a replacement or addition to the Beyonders or Molecule Man is a strong possibility. These could be characters we already know, or new characters whose very existence is key to their respective universes. Doom's plan in Avengers Doomsday might involve a dark hunt to identify and harness these beings, leading to heartbreaking choices for the Avengers. Do they sacrifice one person to save a universe, or doom a universe to save one person, all while Doom manipulates events to make sure he benefits no matter what they choose? The MCU's existing cosmic beings and gods could also play different roles than in the comics. What if figures like Eternity, the Living Tribunal, if he can be re-established after his death in Multiverse of Madness, or even the Celestials become pawns in Doom's game or targets for his power grab? The fallout from Eternals, with Arisham's judgment still hanging over Earth, could tie into the multiversal instability that Doom exploits. The nature of magic in the MCU, especially with the rules set up in the Doctor Strange films and WandaVision, could also lead to unique changes. Maybe Doom's mastery of sorcery involves tapping into forbidden dimensions or powers that even the Sorcerer Supreme is afraid of. His rivalry might not just be with Reed Richards on an intellectual level, but with the MCU's top magic users on a mystical one. The MCU also has its own rich history of character relationships and unsolved plot threads that could be mixed into Battleworld. Imagine domains on Battleworld that are direct, twisted reflections of past MCU events or unresolved fights. A domain where Ultron won. A domain where Hydra stayed in control. These wouldn't just be random comic book references, they would be echoes of the MCU's own past, now warped by Doom's influence. This would make Battleworld feel more connected to the specific journey MCU audiences have been on. Also, the way information is spread and controlled in the MCU, with groups like Damage Control or SWORD, could play a role in Doom's initial rise. He might manipulate these organizations or use their own rules and technologies against them, spreading lies and confusion as he builds his power. The key will be to blend the iconic, absolutely essential elements of Doom's God Emperor story, his absolute power, Battleworld, the fight for survival, with these MCU-specific chances. The RDJ rumor is definitely the most eye-catching, offering a layer of dramatic irony and emotional depth that would be unique to the movie adaptation. But even beyond that, the MCU has a toy box full of characters, ideas, and established lore that can be used to make its version of Doctor Doom's reign and the subsequent Secret Wars a distinctly cinematic and unforgettable experience, building on the comic blueprint but not being totally chained to it. This careful balancing act will be crucial in making Doom not just a great comic villain adapted to screen, but the definitive MCU villain for the multiverse saga. The Marvel Cinematic Universe has definitely thrown some heavy hitters at our heroes. Loki, the charming god of mischief with an army. Ultron, the killer AI wanting peace through extinction. Hela, the goddess of death. And of course Thanos, the mad titan who, with the Infinity Gauntlet, wiped out half of all life. Each one pushed the Avengers to their absolute limits. But God Emperor Doom, as he's shown in the comics and how he could be adapted for the MCU, is a threat on a completely different level. He pretty much overshadows everyone who came before in terms of raw power, smarts, and the philosophical challenge he represents. Thanos, for all his strength, was mostly a physical and cosmic threat whose power came from an outside object, the Infinity Stones. While his belief was absolute, his goal, however awful, was limited, to bring balance by halving the population. Once he did that, his immediate ambition seemed to be satisfied, at least until the stones were threatened. God Emperor Doom, however, is the power. His omnipotence isn't borrowed from things he collected. It's a core part of him, stolen and absorbed from the Beyonders themselves, or whatever the MCU uses. He doesn't just use power over reality. He is the architect and sustainer of his own reality, Battleworld. This makes him infinitely more dangerous. You could disarm Thanos by taking the gauntlet. How do you disarm a god who is the gauntlet, and the universe it controls all rolled into one? The scale of his influence is also way bigger. Thanos affected the entire universe. God Emperor Doom in Secret Wars held the pieces of the entire multiverse in his hands. He didn't just kill people. He erased and rewrote whole realities, histories, and memories whenever he felt like it. The psychological damage of his reign is just as big as the physical. To live under Doom is to live in a constant state of fear, where your very identity and past can be changed by your god's whim. This creates a level of existential dread that Thanos, for all his terror, never quite hit. Then there's the intellectual and strategic side. Kang the Conqueror was set up to be a master strategist, a manipulator of timelines. But Doom's intellect is portrayed as being in a league of its own, boosted by an unmatched understanding of both super science and cosmic-level magic. While Kang wanted to control timelines, Doom wanted to control existence itself. His ambition wasn't just to rule, but to be the one who decides what reality is. This level of arrogance, backed by the power to make it happen, is what makes him so uniquely terrifying. He outsmarted cosmic beings far more powerful than himself to get his godhood. This suggests a cunning that beats even Kang's time-traveling schemes. The philosophical threat from Doom is also deeper. Thanos thought he was bringing balance through destruction. Kang, as He Who Remains, believed he was stopping multiversal war by controlling the sacred timeline. But Doom's justification comes from his massive ego and his belief in his own inherent superiority. That only he is capable of true order, that only he can save existence from chaos, even if that salvation is a fancy cage of his own making. He forces heroes to face uncomfortable questions. Is a flawed freedom better than a perfectly ordered tyranny? If Doom is the only one capable of holding reality together, is fighting him the same as destroying everything? This moral gray area makes him a far more complex and unsettling bad guy. He doesn't see himself as a villain. He sees himself as the necessary, if harsh, savior. The personal stakes also have the potential to be much higher with Doom, especially with the Fantastic Four likely joining the MCU. Doom's rivalry with Reed Richards is legendary, one of the most iconic hero-villain relationships in all of comics. It's not just a battle of powers, but a battle of brains, ideologies, and deeply personal history. This rivalry provides a powerful emotional core that can drive the story. If the RDJ as Doom theory pans out, the personal stakes shoot up for nearly all the established heroes who knew Tony Stark, adding layers of grief and betrayal to the conflict. Even Doom's methods are often more sneaky. While Thanos was a direct conqueror and Kang a manipulator of timelines, Doom is a master of infiltration, corruption, and the long game. He might offer deals with the devil, exploit society's weaknesses, and turn heroes against each other before ever actually fighting them directly. His reign on Battleworld is proof of this, a world built on lies, kept going by fear and forced worship, where even the idea of rebellion is a thought crime. Think about how hopeless it would be to face God Emperor Doom. The Avengers beat Thanos through a mix of sacrifice, time travel, and a desperate team effort. But how do you plan against a being who can rewrite the laws of physics, change your memories, and unmake you with a thought? How do you fight an enemy who controls the very ground you walk on, the air you breathe, and the thoughts in the heads of those around you? The challenge is almost Lovecraftian in its scale. A struggle against a cosmic entity whose power is almost beyond understanding. Ultimately, God Emperor Doom represents the peak of all threats. He has the cosmic power of Thanos, and then some. The strategic brain that could rival Kang, the magical skill to challenge Doctor Strange, and a tyrannical will that makes all previous dictators look like amateurs. He's not just a threat to lives or even to the universe. He's a threat to the very fabric of existence and free will. By adapting this version of Doom, the MCU isn't just finding a new villain. It's raising the bar for what a villain can be, creating an antagonist whose defeat will require more than just strength. It will require an almost impossible level of smarts, sacrifice, and perhaps a fundamental reshaping of the MCU as we know it. He is the ultimate test, the final boss in the grand game of multiversal survival. Dr. Doom's path to godhood is a terrifying idea, but it's also one of the most exciting and epic storylines Marvel has ever come up with. The potential for Avengers Doomsday and Avengers Secret Wars to adapt this is huge, promising a movie experience unlike anything we've seen before. But what do you think? Which comic moments from Doom's reign are you most excited or terrified to see brought to life? How do you think the MCU will handle the sheer scale of God Emperor Doom in Battleworld? Let me know your theories, your fears, and your hopes down in the comments below. I genuinely try to read every single one. And if you want to dive deeper into all this multiversal madness and the future of the MCU, make sure you hit that subscribe button and ring the notification bell so you don't miss out on our next big dive into Marvel's grand plans. We're just scratching the surface of what's to come, and you won't want to be left out when the next big reveal drops. Also, giving this video a thumbs up really helps the channel out and tells YouTube you want to see more content like this. We've got a whole playlist of MCU theories and breakdowns waiting for you, so be sure to check that out after this. So, there you have it. The blueprint is pretty clear. Dr. Doom, armed with his unmatched intellect, his mastery of both science and sorcery, and an ambition that knows no limits, isn't just another villain on the MCU's horizon. He is set to become the central bad guy of the entire multiverse saga. The comic book journey to becoming God Emperor Doom, especially as told in the 2015 Secret Wars event, offers Marvel Studios a rich, complex, and genuinely terrifying roadmap for Avengers Doomsday and Avengers Secret Wars.